In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we help you work out how you can work a 4-day week in your MSP. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Today, we've got a cracking show for you. We have got a member success series with Simon Dickinson, one of our 7-figure MSPs who has managed to make himself invaluable and not needed for 1 day a week. And he now works a 4-day week while the business is absolutely thriving. And he's going to tell us today how on earth he's done it. So welcome to the show, Simon. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
and I've just learned that you're literally moving house tomorrow and you're as cool as a cucumber. So this must have some effect, this whole thing that's happened to you.
Trust me, under the water, you're going like crazy.
Like a swan, is it? It's like everything's all moving. Hey, it's all about perception, mate. Simon, today we talk a lot in the Growth Hub about ONN, owner not needed, Simon not needed, Ian not needed, building a business that works for you rather than you for it. The MSP model, as we know, is an amazingly profitable one, amazingly time efficient one if you get it right and when you get it right. And what we're going to be sharing with you today is how Simon has been working with us at the Growth Hub here for many years now, and he's managed to just say, look, do you know what? I only want to work 4 days a week, and how he's done it. And every time we tell other members of the Growth Hub, they sit there and they gasp, but we're going to hear how he did that today. So we're going to share that with you, the listeners, which is going to be an absolute cracking show. So, Simon, before we get cracking, who are you? What do you do? Who do you help? How big's the business? What's going on? Give us a few metrics and how long you've been in business and all of that jazz.
Hi, I'm Simon Dickinson from Cipher IT. We're MSP in Coventry area. I've been going for 24 years. It was a lifestyle business, naturally. I met the Growth Hub in 2019. That's when things really started to change for us. We're 10 people currently, and we're looking after about 60 clients with about 1,600 endpoints.
Nice, lovely. As usual with the podcast, Simon, what we do is we go for a structure of some questions, and then I ask completely different questions and just throw everybody off because I've thought of things as we're moving along. So just quickly, just before we get into the subject today, in 2019, you've been running the business there for 20 years, something like that. What happened? What was the thing that made you think, I need some help with this? What was going on in the business? What was going on in your life to make you think, just hang on a minute, what?
So it was hand to mouth. Oh, okay. It was very hand to mouth all of the time leading up to 2019. I didn't really have spare money to invest in business coaches. I liked the idea of it for a number of years, thinking someone could help me do something a bit better. But the nuts and crux of it is I was running around like an idiot, fixing servers, delivering PCs, doing everything. And I employed a number of people that really just answered phones and the basics. To cut a long story short, they could all fix printers, they could install Windows for me so I could run off to the next customer. But I was doing all the work, running around, still doing 60-hour, 70-hour weeks where it was necessary. I had got to a point where I refused to work Sundays, pretty much, which was purely because it was pretty driven by the wife, to say the least.
Fair enough.
But yeah, after many years of just working too many hours and doing it all, and it all been on my shoulders. And and things that Stuart said at the time when he spoke to me on the phone resonated really well. I was sat outside a customer's site after just installing a server, believe it or not, wondering what I'm doing in my life, and he just happened to call. And the conversation was good.
So you were in the business, the phrase in and on the business, totally in the business, totally in the technical, didn't have any confidence to let go. You employed some people to help you become probably more busy rather than less busy, and you were working 6 days a week. So we've gone from 6 all the way down to 4. That's an amazing story. It's always interesting just to find out at the beginning of that journey what was the catalyst. And then you met up with Stuart initially, and then obviously now you're in the Growth Hub with the whole bunch of us now helping you out, and we're going to hear about some of those results. So there was 2 things that were going on in the last couple of years, isn't there? Number one, you wanted to work a 4-day week, and number 2, you wanted to bust 7 figures. Talk to me about the 4-day week to start with. Why was that a thing? Was it?
Ultimately, I always had the dream to retire at 55. I had no idea what that looked like. I just thought, don't want to work at 55. Sadly, as all of the other MSP type owners would know, you don't probably have the greatest pension in the world leading up to that point, because you're pretty much self-employed, aren't you? And you pay your basic amounts and so on and so forth. And I just thought, how am I going to retire at 55? Conversations at the MSP Growth Hub have come around about owner not needed. That perks my interest. How do you achieve such a thing? And cut a long story short, I thought, well, the only way I'm going to become owner not needed in 2026, when I turn 55, was basically start to hand things off and delegate. I knew that doing the same thing on repeat wasn't going to help, being a busy fool, as you might call it, because I was constantly being busy. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? And I did have some good members of staff at that time, and they're still with me today. But I also had a lot of, the unhelpful help desk, I called them at one stage. That's genuinely how I felt about it. So in a nutshell, I started to delegate some of the tasks. But I'd been teaching an apprentice who would come on board with us back then quite a lot, and he was going in leaps and bounds, to be fair. I tried having a manager for the service desk. That didn't really work out. He thought that managing was just shouting at people and not actually leading by example. So he left shortly after that. But I managed to get to a point during COVID where I actually downed the tools and I stopped fixing computers. And in all fairness, I can genuinely say, give it maybe once or twice, I have not fixed a computer or a server or a service in the last 4 years. Now, isn't it 2020?
Fantastic. So the 4-day week was the first little step towards owner not needed. I'm thinking about my retirement. I want to make sure that I've got some energy and something going on when I'm 55 so I can enjoy my retirement. The vehicle for my retirement is going to be the MSP in whatever shape or form exit looks like. There's lots of different versions of that, and cutting it down to 4 days a week. So you went from 6 to 5.
Yeah.
And then what was the process that you went through to go to 4? How did that?
Okay, so there's a number of years between COVID and last October when I started.
When it happened, yeah.
4-day weeks. And I think the key element was to have people in the relevant departments that I could trust. So, for example, my only thing I was doing in the business up until that point, that was only me, was sales. So I was the sales guy. I'd like to say I'm the marketing guy, but we all know I haven't really done any marketing. That's my current project, my baby right now. But to have someone in the accounts department that's growing with the company will become a finance director and go on beyond that potentially from a strategic point of view, that's fabulous. I don't have to concern myself with it. I only need to have oversight of it. Then my senior tech, who's getting on a little bit, I hope he doesn't hear that on the
I was going to say, make sure he doesn't listen to this. He's working really well.
He's turned his hand to being an account manager, and a really good one at that. So he's a tech at heart, but from an account management perspective, he can talk solutions with customers and he warms to people. He's a very personable guy. So that's really helped. So that's allowed me to step back even further from the sales. So now it's not all on me for sales or technical business reviews or any of those types of things. So I have got somebody there. So when I am missing on a Monday, I'm not missed. That's the key. I don't even get disturbed anymore. My customers even know it now that I don't work Mondays. So that's fabulous.
Let's just rewind a minute, and you've just made sure you've got reliable people and teams in place. As we know, if you want to grow a successful business, 3 things that you need is, number 1, understanding your numbers and knowing exactly what's going on there. Number 2 is the ability to build a world-class team. And number 3 is to have a flow of leads. And if you have those 3 things, you're in a super great place. When we're at the Growth Hub, obviously, we work with MSPs at 250 all the way up to 5 million. And everyone's busy, right? Just like you're saying, busy. And then they come into the growth hub, and guess what? They get even more stuff to do. So it's, oh my God, am I going to get overwhelmed? And you're not, because what happens is we start organizing what you're doing and we start moving things around. And one of the things that we promote and suggest and recommend very easily is off-grid time. Now, this was the step before the full day off. What's off-grid time and why is it so important to you?
That's the one opportunity you get to actually work on the business while you're still in it. So off-grid's not my term. That's one of the other guys in the
It was
group.
Andy Wilkinson, that was.
Yeah, so fabulous. So cut a long story short, my off-grid was based around Wednesdays, which is when my pod group met. It was a weekly affair. So I would meet at 1 o'clock, I think it was, that we had an hour to 2 hours, depending on the content. So with yourselves. So I would spend the morning doing working on the business, basically, almost prepping myself for that meeting. And then after that meeting, I'd do a little bit more and potentially skive off a bit early, maybe, or carry on, depending on if the flow was there. But cut a long story short, that was really where I actually did quite a bit of development. Like, I would plan the rhythm review for all of the staff. I'd have a calendar and I'd draw that out. But I also got to a point where I was bringing in Natasha and Chris, account manager and finance manager, if you like, account manager, into my home. And we were sitting working on something to do with their department to try and improve. Let's find the holes in the direct debits. Who are we missing, or who are we missing with TBRs? Who do we need to focus on because they're at risk, or any of those elements? But that gave me a chance to do that. But that wasn't every week. That was maybe a little sporadic, but it gave me an opportunity to, wherever my focus was, especially with my 16-week plan, I would aim in those areas to try and fix those problems or address them at least.
So you've organised your team. So you've now got your pillars, your structures. You've got the right people in the right roles, as we call it. And now you're involving them in your new strategic thinking on blocking time out to go onto time to focus on a certain task. And then you're inviting them in and you're doing that thing. How did you find that whole going from being busy to getting, I think the only term is like uber structured in it, because I don't think we're too far alike with our kind of mindsets. And sometimes it's, let's just go and do some stuff and create some stuff and build some stuff for the sake of it. We can get structured, we can get organized, but it requires us to dial up energy, as we know. How did you do that to get into that structure?
I think the first biggest step is having someone who can do the technical work, because that's where our business, isn't it? All of us MSP owners, we probably started as on the tools. And I think if you can put the tools down, all of a sudden, it's a scary moment. It is really scary, because what am I going to do myself? But if you've got some guidance from yourself or Stuart, for example, then all of a sudden there's a lot of things to do. As you say, it's still uber busy, but it becomes structured. And I think that's really important. What I did in the very early start as well is I started to try and build strategy meetings with the team. And I think the very first one was called the Big Speech. And that was because I was just pissed off with everybody at the time. And I thought, right, I'm going to give everyone a bit of a roasting and tell them all about themselves and how we're going to do this properly. Yeah. And it started off as a big speech, and it then changed into a strategy alignment review, which all sounds a little bit more professional. And to be fair, I'd had my rant. I think everyone understood my frustrations at that point. But then we started to talk about what we want to do in the future and how we're going to grow as a team and what the roadmap looks like for the next 6 months, sometimes to a year. It's a lot more structured than that now. I think we've got 3 years now, but that was the first sort of step, and I've done that monthly since then.
And we advocate what you do with that, Simon, in the Growth Hub, and one of the biggest things, and we talk about it a lot. And I can't even remember when I talked about it last. I think I talked about it on a keynote yesterday on an online event. But the whole thing about these sitting down and having structured one-to-ones, sitting down, and what you've done with your monthly roundup, your monthly town hall meeting. Tell us about the impact of just doing that, because you've now got this structure in place, haven't you, where you're magnifying in the different pots.
It's massive. It's unbelievably massive as well. I take some of the slides from the MSP intensives and the alignments that we have, like how to get people all working in alignment, discussing A, B, and C players, and put a big red X through the C place. We don't employ these guys. Just trying to, it sounds all a little bit weird, but it's just trying to get everyone to understand what we're trying to do, if you like, as a business. I've been asked questions during those meetings. Why does such and such a client call us so often? We should get rid of them. So then I showed that in the following meeting by showing a bar graph of all of the customers' revenue. It doesn't show the numbers, but you could see that client pays this much, whereas the little client pays this much. That's why this guy calls so much, because he pays your wages, mate, and everybody else's. But to explain stuff that the guys enjoy or get benefit from that. Statistics as well, metrics for SLAs met, type of tickets, how busy we are. I had to go through a phase of timesheets because they weren't being completed properly. So I was showing every month people's, not their individual timesheets, but overall hours that I'm losing that aren't utilised. We're generous with it, where we get now over 80% utilisation on a timesheet. That will consist of training and meetings and ticket work. But we're getting that regular, and we pull them up if it doesn't. That's really good.
When we talk about the vision and the mission and the value and the direction and all this, and by this time, half the listeners now are going, "Oh my God, isn't that for big corporates? What a load of old boring waffle you lot keep crackling on about all the time." This is exact application of that, where you've embedded, you've engaged, you've educated, you've shared your vision with them and what you want to do, and they've responded well. So what's the impact on the team been throughout this journey of you working less?
It's a strange one because the team has changed a little. As you may know, I've had a bit of a churn rate. I have removed some people from the team and added new people and recruited new people. And I think that's all for the positive, because some people they weren't part of the new journey. They were really great at doing those simple tasks in the early days, and that was the old journey. And I think the new journey is very different. And sadly, it does require higher skilled people. Yeah, and that's the only way that I can see it growing and growing, and everybody needs to work the same way. We've become ISO 9001 as well. So we're following process with that, which is really good. Guys all understand that process. That's also helped improve documentation. And there's been a few bumps along the road where I've had to give the team a bollocking in those strategy meetings, especially when your new users have not been created in the same way that they were created last time. Different people doing things, so they're not following documents. And we've had some conversation, but they understand now, because what they're getting from those meetings normally is all positivity. And that occasional thing that has to be thrown in there, I think, they take it on board. And I have a great relationship with them all. I have one-to-one coffee catch-ups with them. Not as regular as I'd like, but I do. And the rhythm review is working. And I've even got to a point where I'm not doing every review anymore. I'm only doing the 12-month one where we set targets, expectations for the year, and salary incentives. Then it's broken down between the managers.
I love this because you and I don't get to talk at depth like this. And the thing that I'm hearing now and getting goosebumps on my arms is how you've applied all the different frameworks that we use around the scale with confidence model, with your one-to-ones, with your account management, with the vision and values, and how you've actually done that, which I know is what we wanted to get out of this show, but it was like, this is really cool. He's actually not actually listening, because I know, but it's just like you've just taken on board and you've just applied the process, which is incredible. And here's to the success. So what's happened with the business side of the business? What's the impact on the business in the last 3 years?
So we've over doubled in turnover, and profit is shot up as well, naturally, as part of that. So that's very positive. We've reduced our client count down, we've reduced our staff count down, and still achieved those things. And I don't know, what else can we say we've done?
What else do you want? You've got time back, you've got more profit, you've got more turnover, you've got a happier team. Hey, anybody want to buy an MSP?
Not for sale.
Not for
having
sale.
Too much fun. Having too much fun, Ian.
You're having too much fun. That's absolutely right. Well, that's an absolutely amazing journey that you've taken us on there. Simon, thanks very much for your time preparing and also sharing today in the show. I absolutely love the way that you've applied the process, you've applied the learning, and not only the business development, but the personal development side of things, which is got you these great results. Now, for every MSP who this has resonated with, who wants a little bit of what you've got, what are some of the top tips, or what's the top 2 or 3 things for them to do straight after listening to this podcast today?
100% get the right people in the right roles within your business, especially the technical side. That'll allow you to put your tools down, basically. And I think that's really important, because that'll give you headspace to focus on the other parts of the business, e.g. running your business. Make time. Definitely make some time to work on the business, even if it is half a day, 1 day a week, whatever it might be. It's invaluable. That's where you'll come up with the best ideas and have a bit of a plan. And to be totally honest, just join the MSP Growth Hub. You can ask us loads of questions then in the intensives when you actually meet us, or however you want to play it. But it's worth its weight in gold.
Lovely blatant.
And he hasn't paid me for that. He hasn't paid me for that.
No, there's no sponsorship for that. But you might notice I didn't interrupt you. As always, if there's anything anybody wants to have a conversation about where they are today, where they want to go, what's in the gap, then Stuart and I are always available. Hit the website, hit LinkedIn, whatever you need to do. Simon, if somebody wants to have a chat with you and have a conversation, not about buying your MSP, but about what you've done and continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Through LinkedIn, definitely. Yeah, give me a shout on LinkedIn. Connect with me. It's absolutely fine. I'm happy to grab a coffee with some people as well, if I haven't got to travel too far. We are based in Coventry, so we're Midlands.
Brilliant. What a great offer. Go and have a coffee, learn a load of stuff. And yeah, so here's to your continued success. Thanks again for today's show. Really enjoyed it. It was a good crack. If you actually realise how many outtakes we had in the back end of this, it's a lot longer than these 30 minutes or whatever it's turned into. But anyway,
it's been a long day. I'm not going to lie.
And it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. Lovely stuff. Thanks again, mate. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now. Just before you go, and if you're curious about how this episode links with the ability to scale your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, accelerate to 5, then we want to invite you to come and take the MSP Mastery Quiz. And in just 3 minutes, you're going to get a 360-degree scan of your business, where you can identify the 1 or 2 tactics that can help you find more time, engage and align your people, and help generate more leads in your MSP. It's really simple. Just click on the link in the show notes. And if you have enjoyed this episode, we'd love to get some feedback from you by means of a rating and review on Spotify or iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate every single one of them. Now you can go and enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to catching up and connecting with you soon. All the best now.